Welcome to the public involvement presentation for the Shoreline Management Plan revision at Fort Gibson Lake. Public and stakeholder involvement is critical to the success of the Shoreline Management Plan revision. As the country is responding to the COVID-19 outbreak, public meetings and workshops which accompany a Shoreline Management Plan revision are all canceled. The presentation you are viewing is the alternative to the Corps hosting face-to-face public meetings or workshops. Thank you for taking the time to participate. The purpose of this presentation is to inform the public and stakeholders that the Shoreline Management Plan revision draft is complete and available for review at Fort Gibson Lake. This presentation will define a Shoreline Management Plan, describe the Shoreline Management Plan revision process, present the primary changes in the plan from the 1996 plan, provide instructions on how to participate in the process, and encourage participation. It will also provide links to documents and details about how to contact the Corps to ask questions. The information provided through public and stakeholder comments is essential to the decision-making process during the development of the Shoreline Management Plan. The Corps wants your ideas and comments. After watching this presentation, review the other material on the project website and send in comments and participate in the Shoreline Management Plan revision process at Fort Gibson Lake. The Shoreline Management Plan, or also referred to as an SMP, is the Corps of Engineers document that establishes policies and set guidelines by which the Corps manages certain private uses of public lands and waters along the shoreline of water resource projects. At Fort Gibson Lake, those uses and activities generally include private docks and boathouses, as well as vegetation modification including mowing and underbrushing at the boundary line and pedestrian trails. To aid in understanding shoreline management with the Corps, a brief history of milestones is provided. In the 1950s and 60s, the Corps had few rules to govern the use of shoreline activities at water resource projects. In 1974, as a part of the Title 36 of the Code of Federal Regulations, formal rules were first published related to shoreline management. The Corps referenced Engineering Regulation 1130-2406 to guide the implementation of rules set out in Title 36. In the late 1980s, public law changed the rules, allowing docks to remain indefinitely if maintained as long as they were in non-restricted areas. The last Shoreline Management Plan published at Fort Gibson Lake was in 1996. Currently, there are 486 permitted docks and 13 vegetation modification permits at Fort Gibson Lake. The revision process for the Fort Gibson Shoreline Management Plan is summarized in this chart. The public and stakeholder participation process began on 25th of February 2020, when the Corps hosted a public meeting to announce and introduce the Shoreline Management Plan revision. During that meeting, the Corps was available to meet and answer questions regarding the revision process and encouraged public and stakeholder participation. Following that meeting, the Corps reviewed all the comments received and developed the Shoreline Management Plan draft document. We are currently in the agency and public review phase of the project, which is highlighted by the yellow star in the chart. Following the 30-day comment period, the Corps will review the comments received and finalize the plan. Adoption of the final Shoreline Management Plan will occur after approval by the Southwestern Division Commander. As noted on the previous slide, an agency and public scoping workshop took place on February 25th, 2020 in Wagoner, Oklahoma. The meeting was attended by 196 individuals, and a total of 8 comments were received during the comment period. A summary of the comments is included in the appendices of the Shoreline Management Plan document. The Shoreline Management Plan revision is changing the 1996 Shoreline Management Plan. The primary changes are listed under these categories. A detailed summary of the changes is available for review in the appendix of the report. Each category will be briefly summarized on the following slides. Engineering Regulation 1130-2-406 is the regulation that guides the development and implementation of shoreline management at Corps projects. Changes to the engineering regulation since the publication of the 1996 Shoreline Management Plan were addressed in this revision, including the administration, transfer, and termination of permits, dock removal and replacement, prohibited facilities, flotation requirements, and response times. Most of the changes were minor and were implemented administratively as they became effective. The district commander can make minor administrative changes without implementing a public involvement process. This table summarized the shoreline allocation changes from the 1996 plan to the proposed 2021 Shoreline Management Plan. In summary, prohibited access areas increased by 0.14 miles. Protected shoreline areas increased by 12.83 miles. Limited development areas decreased by 4.61 miles. Public recreation areas decreased by 8.35 miles. Shoreline allocation changes were needed to reflect the land classification changes in the 2016 Master Plan. The decrease in limited development areas was mostly the outcome of removing limited development areas from areas which are not well suited for private use. In certain coves, the limited development area was reduced due to insufficient water depth, protection from excess wind fetch, and extreme or unsafe topography or terrain of the adjacent shoreline. The Shoreline Management Plan contains a series of maps in the appendix which illustrate the shoreline allocation designations for all of Fort Gibson Lake. The allocations are identified at the shoreline using color coding to show the 4 possible allocations, including limited development, prohibited, protected, and public recreation areas. This map is an example of the large-scale mapping that shows the entire project on 6 map sheets. A second set of shoreline allocation maps highlight the cove details with a focus on the limited development areas. The smaller scale maps allow private floating facilities to be seen within a designated LDA. Changes regarding shoreline use permits include a requirement that applicants for a shoreline use permit must show proof of legal access to fee-owned government land. Good standing shoreline permits currently located in quasi-public and private club site recreational areas will be grandfathered in, but must meet conditions stated in the Grandfathered Structures and Activities section of the SMP revision. Private floating facilities, or PFFs, include privately owned boat docks, platforms, breakwaters, and buoys. Changes to the administration of PFFs includes prohibiting new mooring buoys, setting minimum standard designs for PFFs regarding size, slip length and width, and square footage of platform docks and walkways, as well as requiring PFF construction to occur off government property in a commercial marina or on site on the water at the approved place of the permit. The design of Anchorage systems must be included in the engineering plans for each separate structure and must be developed in accordance to the features at the specific site location. PFFs and their anchorage cannot render any portion of a cove non-navigable or create any hazard to navigation, regardless of lake elevation. Changes associated with walkways and stairs include the requirement to have a licensed structural engineer sign and stamp PFF plans showing handrail construction details. On a limited basis, stairways can be authorized if the lake manager verifies no safe, viable alternative exists to access a permitted dock. All stairways require a real estate instrument, and no part of the stairway may extend over the lake at conservation pool elevation of 554.0 NGVD. Construction of stairways must be of metal or concrete and meet the standards stated in EM 38511. Existing stairways, tramways, must be certified by a licensed structural engineer, with certification submitted to the lake manager prior to renewal of the license. on a case-by-case basis, modifications of existing stairways for ADA compliance will be considered. Stairways that are abandoned are subject to removal per Title 36. The SMP provides a more detailed list of real estate instrument examples for a variety of activities, but removes requirements for the SMP, since each instrument could have very different and specific requirements based on the type, activity, location, and many other factors. Commercial development and other activities by private or public interests on government land that are not covered in the SMP may be allowed only after issuance of a lease, license, or other legal grant, in accordance with ER 405-112, and must comply with the recreation and non-recreation outgrant policy in ER 1130-550. Permits along protected areas will only be approved if the environmental and physical characteristics of the area will not be impacted. 30-foot fire breaks may still be approved in LDAs and protected areas. However, additional restriction may be placed on permits based on specific site conditions and characteristics. In areas where unauthorized modification occurs, a moratorium on vegetation modification may be implemented to allow recovery of the impacted area. Vegetation alternation is limited to living vegetation 2 inches or less in diameter, measured at the ground level. The revised SMP addresses 3 scenarios regarding how an existing PPF can be grandfathered for PFFs that were in place on or before November 17, 1986. Please review the plan for more specifics related to the grandfather clause. Grandfathered structures that are authorized to be relocated will lose their protected status and must meet all new standards for PFFs. Some pre-existing facilities will be exempt from current or new requirements under specific circumstances according to Public Law 97-140. However, these exemptions are still required to install handrails, ensure electrical systems meet current NEC standards, and replacement flotation must meet current requirements. In addition, solid siding including clear materials like plexiglass are no longer authorized for PFFs. Changes to electrical power and lighting are summarized to include not issuing any new utility license across government property as per the 2009 non-recreational outgrant policy. Solar power, generators, or other means are recommended as alternative energy sources. Applicants must submit a detailed plan to the lake manager for approval. Overhead lines on government flowage easements are required to meet the special vertical clearance requirements. Lighting should be shielded and remain off when not in use. Permittees are also encouraged to abide by the best management practices referred to the Dark Skies Initiative. Flotation shall be of materials intended for marine use that will not become waterlogged, are resistant to damage by animals, and will not sink or contaminate the water if punctured. Approved flotation materials include extruded polyester, polyethylene, encapsulated expanded polyesterine, or encapsulated polyurethane, and must meet other durability requirements. Private floating facilities with existing flotation that does not meet the current standards will be allowed to remain until a USACE inspector deems the flotation is no longer serviceable. If less than 40% of a PFF section is above the waterline, it is no longer considered serviceable. Unserviceable flotation shall be replaced with an approved flotation upon written notification from the United States Army Corps of Engineers. You can participate in the process by reviewing the documents available on the website and submit written comments. The Corps will only accept comments in written format. The project website is hosting all the documents relevant to the Shoreline Management Plan revision, including historical Shoreline Management Plan documents, project maps, comment forms with instructions on how to submit a comment, and copies of this presentation for your review. As the project progresses and new information is developed, it will be posted to this project website, so you may want to bookmark the site for future reference. We are asking for your help to spread the word to others, letting them know that the draft Shoreline Management Plan revision document is completed and that this is the opportunity to participate in the process. The Corps can accept any form of written comments, and we have provided a few methods that may make it easier to submit. A comment form has been prepared and is available on the website, which you can download and fill out electronically. Hit the Submit button on the form, and it will autofill the email address and you can send it in. Another method is to print the comment form provided on the website and fill it out by hand, or electronically, and mail it in to the Corps. Or you can write a comment in a letter or email and send it in. You don't have to use the comment form. We will accept all of these methods and any other as long as it's a written comment to the email address or mailing address on this slide. These addresses are also found on the last slide of the presentation. The comment period is open for 30 calendar days from the initial announcement. If you have questions regarding the Shoreline Management Plan, please call or email the following Corps Project Office or district staff. You can also send questions to the email address set for this project as listed on this slide. If you need to review a printed copy of the information, please contact the Lake Office to make your request. Public notification for scoping initiated on February 25th, 2020. The 30-day comment period when written comments were accepted remained open until March 25th, 2020. The draft document is available for public review starting on May 20th, 2021, followed by a 30-day public comment period. The final approved Shoreline Management Plan and environmental assessment is tentatively scheduled for August 2021. Thank you for viewing this presentation and participating in the Shoreline Management Plan revision process at Fort Gibson Lake. Project documents are available at this website. Please send your comments to the email address or Fort Gibson Lake Office address listed here. Thank you.